Hello, my name is Amrit Hanspaul, and I'm a product manager with the Mass Scale Infrastructure Group within Cisco Systems. Today, I'm very excited to talk about an automation area which we are calling protocol automation. Now, as part of this talk, I want to first of all highlight what is protocol automation. I want to talk about an interesting concept called the automation gradient. I also want to highlight how we're going to deliver protocol automation. Is it XR? Is it crossword? Is it something that you do? Well, it's going to be interesting finding out how we go about doing that. And finally, I want to leave you with a couple of preview demos that we put together to show you where we're headed with protocol automation. Now, my previous colleagues have taken you through the automation journey. And if you have followed all their sessions, you'd have heard them talk about day -1, which towards the left of the screen is about planning. Now, the products available as part of that is the crossword qualification engine. Day 0 is all about bringing up functions. So you have ZTP, zero touch provisioning, software image management. We've got 2 new enhancements that we made, enhancements on the XR, so you can build your own ZTP server, or you can use our ZTP server from Crosswork. Day 1, talking about operations. Now here, Brian and Santiago talked a lot about Yang models, telemetry. Harsha would have talked about change automation, health insights. This is where you can use those Yang models and telemetries and build automation and integrate it with your OSS or build new functions. Last but not the least is day 2, assurance. Now in here, this is where protocol level troubleshooting comes in. And specifically, protocol automation comes in. Now, it's important to understand a lot of the day 1 offerings do have essentially some form of assurance built into them. But when it comes on to protocols, that's where some of the work that we are doing essentially comes into play. Okay, now I'm sure you're probably thinking, hey, hang on, what is this protocol automation? What you may not realize that we've actually had a pretty long history of protocol automation. So let me take 3 examples which have gone back all the way. So let's talk about BNG. Now BNG back in 1999, even before the word SDN became popular, essentially is considered the first SDN application. If you think about it, what was happening there was you had a high-scale residential services hitting a gateway, going across to the internet. The amount of residential services was so high that you could not manually handle them. So you needed some form of an external automation, and we essentially use radius and then diameter, and then we program state into the network. Another example is route reflector. Back in the days when we had only peering and then MPLS VPNs, these are the BGP VPNs, 2547 VPNs came out. Essentially, every edge device became a BGP peer, and that couldn't scale. So what did we do? Well, hey, BGP route reflector, that comes into play. So instead of having an edge device peer with every other edge device and create a n-square a mesh problem, you essentially went and said, hey, I'm just going to connect and peer to one single route reflector. Last but not least was the problem of intra-AS traffic engineering. So remember, traffic engineering is all about spreading bandwidth across. So when you had to go across the ASs, where the information was could not traverse that because all of your state information was being handled by ISIS or OSPF, you needed something like PCE. And a PCE client and a PCE server essentially became the PCE protocol. All right, and that's the way how you had intra-AS traffic engineering. Now, if you take a look at all 3 of them, all have one very unique aspect. These are really extensions of the protocols. All right. And essentially, when I say extension, it's basically the function that we've implemented in XR. Now, very similar to that, that's where we're headed with protocol automation. Now, in automation, it's important to understand that there are going to be levels of automation. So first of all, I'm going to use this example of SAE level 1 through 5. Pretty interesting concept. If you're not familiar with it, just do a quick Google. You'll find this for self-driving cars. Level 1, you really need to drive the car. Level 5, you fall asleep. So in our world, level 1 is NMS, monitoring and managing. And these were separate apps. They were fixed GUIs. You could not extend them. And that's what NMS was. Now, level 2 started to get interesting. What it essentially did was it introduced the whole concept of open API. So now you could essentially go ahead and integrate this programmatically to your OSS, or you could extend this. And all you were doing was you were bringing the network models into cloud architecture. So all the acronyms that you've heard about, Docker containers, microservices, everything from, the compute world essentially came into play. So you took the network, and in this blue icon, you represented this inside a server, and then you performed actions on that. The GUI became flexible. You didn't like the GUI? Don't worry, change it. You had the same REST calls. We would go ahead and publish them. You could go ahead and essentially utilize them as needed to cater to various requirements, whether you wanted to do a rebrand or you didn't like the style of the workflow, you could essentially go ahead and do that. Now, really, level 2 is all NMS 2.0. This is not where the exciting stuff is. The exciting stuff really begins at level 3. Now, this is where you get some form of machine learning and machine reasoning algos in. Now, what you're doing in this level 3 is essentially using the two major forms. So machine learning, as the term suggests, is learning. Throw a lot of data at the problem, and you would essentially figure out the trends in the network. Machine reasoning is the other side. Now, these are expert systems. You program rules. And so now the network is essentially being catered to by machine learning and machine reasoning algos, and that is what is being presented to the user, and obviously in a programmatic API manner. Now, where level 4 and level 5 really get interesting is how they close the loop, as in not just get information from the network, but also go back into the network. Now, level 4 is a human intervention that's there in the middle. Level 5 is machine takes over. And I know what you're thinking. It's not Skynet yet, but we are definitely headed in that direction. Now, let's talk about both of these. Now, the way how level 4 and level 5 works is essentially you would go ahead and close the loop for a certain use case. Now, when you don't get a use case addressed properly, then level 5 essentially drops down to level 4. A human goes back in, does the automation, pushes it back to level 5, right? The ping pong continues up and down till we finally reach level 5 with all the use cases covered. So every time automation scenario is not able to handle a certain scenario, you would essentially do some form of a decommissioning. And by decommissioning, I don't mean bring down the router. You basically steer traffic away, or you take certain areas to handle that particular automation scenario. But what we are really talking about protocol automation is taking it all the way to level 5, right? Now, we will be doing this in stages, and you will be working along with us. We hope that you would provide us feedback on this really exciting offering. Now, let's talk about how exactly are we going to deliver this. Now, this particular picture is a little bit of an eye chart, and it has two major things. That is the on-box software that you can see, that's XR, that's the XR OS, that's your XR container, and the YANG and the telemetry models through either config going down or Opera going up into NSR data gateway, which is part of the infra, and really feeds a whole rich foundation of apps. Now, the purple boxes, the protocol apps is what I'm talking about specifically, all right? So the foundational apps allows you to build any kind of automation today. They are available today, the ones that we are working on right now, and that's something which we hope you would use it when is essentially a curated form of the change automation and health insights. The key is both of the on-box and the off-box working together, and they're going to have a very tight interaction. Now, here's the key. If you'd like to consume this through the GUI or through the API, you can go ahead and use that in either way. You can programmatically extend this. You can go ahead and connect this to your OSS, or if you have third-party systems, you can go ahead and make that work. Now, you're going to have a lot of options in the years to come where you can choose any of these apps, but the key thing to remember is this red box. That's the most important piece. Now, we've got 3 demos, multicast, QoS, and BGP. And there is a key methodology that we've used. We've used as a starting point, using telemetry, looking for multicast VPNs, looking for multicast trees, looking for QoS health, looking for BGP health for layer 2 and layer 3 VPNs. Now, this This telemetry information essentially gives you real-time topology views. In addition, what we've done is we've added machine reasoning expert systems, and we've got these rules that will essentially troubleshoot multicast outages. Now, you can go ahead, in the case of multicast, we've actually closed the loop. We actually add a network action to go ahead and resolve the issue. In QoS, we've gone ahead and tuned queuing and policing parameters. And in BGP, we've gone ahead and figured out how we can stay that the BGP health remains in the green state, looking at various states, whether it's memory utilization, CPU utilization, or block threads. Now, these demos should be viewed as preview demos. These are areas that we're working on, and they're going to be available on the DevNet Day developer website. In addition, we've set up a mailing alias, xr-apps@external.cisco.com. You can reach all the engineers there. We hope to hear from you soon, and we'd love to show more of this wonderful and very exciting area that we're working with. Thank you. Hope you have a great day.